recording, although I would recommend to wait a couple of minutes more. One of the main problems to Spanish-speaking meat makers is that the usual references of books and manuals and documents are all in English. So, yeah, for a Spanish meat maker, the sources or the big books like the meat maker, how to make meat, etc., are all in English. We have not still a long tradition of authors that publish books in Spanish. So, do you think it's easier for English-speaking people to start making meat, or it's just
Yes and no. Because there's a lot of books in Polish. There's a lot of books in German. I think we have to work on getting the text translated into Espanol. But it takes stuff like what you're doing right here, and in more of the communication. Like if you wouldn't have never reached out to me, I would have never known about your group. So I think through events like this, through communication, and if we can communicate, we can educate.
Okay, yeah,
sure. So and it's just going to go from there. If you wouldn't have never told me that a lot of the major books were not in Espanol, I wouldn't have never known that. So being a part of the American Meat Makers Association, being a part of the home governing committee for the AHA, and being a part of the Meat Institute and the Mazer Cup, I think that's a problem now. Yeah. But I wouldn't have known that was a problem unless you brought it up to me today. So we need to set a goal. Yeah, we need to make a goal of next year is to have modern meat making techniques transferred into Espanol, and now that should be an action item for the meat industry as a whole.
Okay, I'm going to translate it a bit, summarize it. Le he preguntado a Carvin que si cree que el hecho de que la mayoría de los libros y documentos estén en inglés es un hándicap para la gente que hace hidromiel en España. Y él ha dicho que él también encuentra muchos documentos en alemán, en polaco, en otros idiomas, y que al final, de no ser por la asociación o por la entrevista, que él tampoco sabría, colaborando como está con la Asociación Americana de Hidromieleros, en la Mazer Cup, etcétera, que hay gente hispanohablante que quiere tener acceso a esos libros, que quiere tener acceso a esos recursos. So I think although we are just 4 people online, I feel a little bit disappointed by my resources to get people online, but as the conversation is going to be recorded, if you don't mind, we could start the interview. Are you okay with that? Yep. Okay. So, thank you very much, Carvin, to let us make you this interview. I have a small curriculum of your activities surrounding meat. Okay, as our public is in, Spanish talkers, and this is not a question for you, I'm going to explain it in Spanish. Carvin lleva más de 20 años en el mundo de los fermentos, ha hecho cerveza, ha hecho sidra, ha hecho vino, ha hecho hidromiel. Ganador, aquí está 2019, de más de 200 medallas, incluyendo 5 en la Mazer Cup. También es un orgulloso productor de miel, que ahora hablaremos sobre eso. En 2019 ya tenía 8 variedades diferentes y además es un apoyo importante para la Asociación Americana de Hidromiel, para la Maser Cup, de la que forma parte desde creo que 2021 del director de la sección casera de la Maser Cup. También ha sido juez internacional de la Mid-Madness Cup y más cosas que la verdad es que no he encontrado, pero me consta que está más involucrado. También es administrador de varios grupos en Facebook, o sea que es toda una personalidad para lo que es un hidromielero casero, que hace hidromiel en su casa, no tiene ninguna empresa, pero bueno, hay mucha gente que se ha visto influenciada por él y por sus charlas. Okay, after this presentation, I'm going to start asking you how many years or how much time have you been doing meat, for example?
I would say actively 20, but it's been quite a while. So about 20 years. Been doing meat, beer, wine, and cider.
Okay. Do you have references from other people in the USA or Arizona that have been making meat longer than you, or when you started making meat, you have some references or influences where you live, or?
Yeah. So I can basically say that my interest was first when I was a little boy from my grandfather making country wine. So country wine is just fruit and a whole bunch of sugar. So and it's like it's terrible stuff. it's horrible. And so we started off making that, but when I first started to get into meat, Garden Strong, Ken Schramm, Kurt Stock, some of the legends, Christian England, who is probably one of the most fluent bilingual meat makers you will ever meet in the whole world. And he's definitely somebody I'm going to recommend that you have on your podcast. And
can you repeat the name?
Christian England.
Okay.
Yeah.
England, like the country.
Like the country. So he's a phenomenal resource too as well. So I have my heroes, but I would say for the most part it started with my grandfather.
Okay, I'm going to translate it. Le he preguntado la pregunta que le he hecho antes de cuánto tiempo llevaba haciendo hidromiel y el tema del vino, etcétera, etcétera. Me ha dicho que más seriamente desde hace 20 años y que todo empezó con su abuelo, que hacía, vino del lugar o una cosa así, que era pues una mezcla de frutas, de las que tenían por ahí, y azúcar. Entonces, pues, le ha dicho que era un poco terrible, pero que ahí empezó, digamos, su relación con el mundo de los fermentos, con su abuelo. Y que luego en Estados Unidos sí que ha tenido referentes e influencias en las que fijarse, y él empezó a hacer esto hace 20 años, o sea que allí hace 20 años ya había gente que ya estaba haciendo hidromiel. Ha recomendado a Kirsten England como una divulgadora bilingüe que es muy, muy recomendable. Así que luego la buscaremos por internet y le añadiremos a ver si encontramos algo. Okay, next question. Do you remember which was your first recipe?
Yes, I do, because it was horrible. Very first meat was a traditional wildflower meat, EC 1118, just no nutrients, no nothing, just old techniques. It tastes like a mixture of rocket fuel, nail polish, and just it was god awful horrible. And so
later on, have you been repeating? I mean, the same recipe, but adding new techniques, new processes, or you just give up with?
Yeah, no. So I perfected that traditional meat recipe. Is actually on the Modern Meat Makers group.
Okay.
And that recipe has won me 4 Mazer cups and all kind of different awards with different honeys, of course. But that process that I've come up with over the years has won me and at least 6 or 7 different people Mazer cups and all kind of other awards from using that traditional meat recipe.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that later. Carvin le preguntó que si se acuerda cuál fue su primera receta y dice que sí se acuerda, que le salió terriblemente mal y que olía o sabía como combustible de aviones y quitasmaltes. Y luego le preguntó que si esa receta, después de ese primer disgusto, digamos, o esa primera decepción, la había abandonado, y él me ha dicho que no, que continúa añadiendo procesos, técnicas nuevas, perfeccionándola, y que, bueno, que con esa receta ha ganado 4 premios en la Mazer Cup y que luego además sabe de otra gente que ha utilizado la misma receta y que también ha ganado premios en la Mazer Cup, utilizando pues diferentes variedades de miel. Si veis que me agacho es porque estoy aquí con el bebé. Yeah, I have seen searching for some of your data in the Mazer Cup prices that some of the names of the meats were Carvin recipe, and you were not the one who were presenting the meat. Yeah, and some of them had funny names. I can't remember right now, but related to you. I mean, I did just a search using control find and see how many times the name Carvin was mentioned, and a lot of people with your the same recipe as you put. Yeah. So I find it interesting. How many of the success of a meat is the recipe, and how much of the success of the meat is the recipe, and how much is your attitude as a meat maker or the processes you follow to make the meat?
It's to me, it's about the process, and here's why I say that. I'm confident I can give anybody on this call my recipes and my process, and they will win a medal. Because I've done it over and over and over again. So that takes me as the meat maker out of the equation. It's more about the processes. So I've proven that by, helping other people win awards, which is, to me, is the ultimate test if your processes and your recipes work. So I'm going to say it's the process, but also the ingredients. You got to start with quality ingredients too as well. So the process and the ingredients.
But as if you are following a process, I mean some kind of characteristics you have to have as a meat maker too. Is that you're always willing to learn and to adapt yourself, even if you think if it's a big change with your own methods or your own processes, right? I mean,
yes. Yeah, and you also got to understand that processes evolve. Just because I made a meat one way 3 years ago, technology and I guess you would say information within this industry is always changing. So you got to be willing to change, too as well. So, we're always finding interesting facts about fermentation and yeast hydration and so on and so forth. So, it's a skill set that you just need to stay up on and keep tweaking. It's just like I relate everything meat making to cooking. I love to cook. If there's a better way to make a biscuit, I want to play around with that. Like today, I'm trying a new way to make a prime rib. So you got to be willing to experiment. You got to be willing and able to adapt and change if you want to make award-winning meat.
Okay. Le he preguntado a Carvin, hablando de ese tema de que muchas de sus recetas han sido copiadas. Le he preguntado que qué influenciaba para él más a la hora de hacer un hidromiel, si el hidromielero en sí o el proceso. Y él me ha dicho que, bueno, que él piensa que es todo acerca del proceso, que si tú sigues un proceso, digamos, al pie de la letra, y también que aprendes cómo funciona, etcétera, etcétera, que serás capaz de hacer un buen hidromiel. Y que él no tiene respecto a eso ningún secreto, y que cuanta más gente aprenda de sus procesos, pues que a él, vamos, que le parece bien. O sea, que está en internet, él tiene sus charlas, él tiene sus documentos, y que cualquiera, siguiendo el proceso, puede hacer un magnífico hidromiel. Y luego también le he preguntado acerca de si, claro, si como hidromielero, digamos, tienes que tener una actitud como siempre abierta, ¿no? A aprender nuevas cosas, a desterrar viejos hábitos, a incorporar nuevas técnicas. A lo mejor eso es parte del aprender un proceso, ¿no? O sea, no es solo el proceso, eso ya es opinión mía, sino tener la actitud de estar siempre con la mente abierta. Él ha dicho que las cosas evolucionan, se van adquiriendo nuevos conocimientos y hay que estar siempre al día. También que le encanta la cocina y que, bueno, pues ha puesto el ejemplo de que, bueno, que siempre hay una manera mejor de hacer una cookie, ¿no? En plan de una galleta. Si te informas bien y si practicas. Okay, Carvin. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I have found some people on the internet that I mean, the problem is not the lack of information. It's that you maybe you don't want to apply it to your processes, or that you don't have enough how to say autocriticism. You know, how much do you think it has meant to you to become a meat judge to make better meats?
One of the reasons I am a successful meat maker is because I am a judge. A way to think about it is I could spend all my time, all my years making all this meat, or I can go to a large competition like the Major Cup, and I can taste 300-400 meads in a weekend if I really wanted to. And what you learn by a judge, you learn to pick up faults. You learn things about, you know, let me change this a little bit. You get to see ideas and do research on meads without having to make them. It's like, okay, I wondered about this flavor combination, but now I don't have to make it. I've already tasted it, and it was like, okay, you know, from me judging, I can say, I don't like the way that this particular meat maker did it, but now I know that will work without me having even made the meat. But if you want to be good at anything, golf, softball, baseball, you got to practice. So being a judge gives you the ability to practice. And even before I was a meat judge, we would get together once a month.
Just taste meat, yeah.
And just taste meat. You know, that's, you know, pre-COVID, at least once a quarter, we would all get together like local meat friends, and we'll do a bottle share of about 250 bottles of meat, and just drink.
Whoa, yeah. But it's a high amount of meat.
Yeah. meat, wine, beer. You know, but predominantly it was meat, and we would do that about 4 times a year. So so judging helps, but also getting together with friends and drinking. And the last thing I'm going to say on this, and then I'm going to let you translate, is that you got to have honest friends.
Yeah.
You got to have this mentality to where if you put something in my glass, I get to give you real feedback. It's my perception of what I'm getting, but you got to have friends who are honest and who are not just going to be like, oh, wow, this is good. Well, what's good about it?
I know. I know some people that is starting to make starting to become home meat makers, and they say, yeah, all my friends like my meat. They say good things about it, and I always say, have you asked them about paying for it? Like, would you pay, I don't know, $3, $4 for a third, I don't know, a pinch of my meat? And yeah, I think a lot of people will discover that their friends are not very very willing to give money to taste their meat if it costs something to them. Lo que le he preguntado a Carvin es por su faceta de juez de hidromiel. Y le he preguntado que si él, con el tema de que es muy importante ser crítico con uno mismo para que el hidromiel de uno avance. Entonces le he preguntado que cuánto creía de importante que era su faceta como juez para hacer mejores hidromieles. Y él ha dicho que es indispensable porque aparte de detectar en sus propios hidromieles defectos, faltas, cosas así, le da la oportunidad de probar y de testear combinaciones de mieles o de frutas o de ingredientes que él no ha hecho, pero ya no necesita hacerlas porque más o menos sabe, pues yo qué sé, él no lo ha dicho, pero bueno, pues imagínate en las que yo he probado a lo mejor de chocolate y menta y tal y dices, anda, pues mira qué curioso, y ya no te hace falta hacerla. Entonces, que es un proceso de aprendizaje. Tú, a ver. Y luego también me ha dicho que es muy importante rodearse de amigos, probar muchas hidromieles. Si tenéis hidromieleros cerca, pues quedar con ellos, aunque sea un par de veces al año, etcétera, etcétera. Y que tus amigos sean honestos, que no te vayan a decir siempre que tu hidromiel es maravillosa, sino que, bueno, educadamente te juzguen sus defectos, etcétera, etcétera. Que no te digan que sí a todo. Okay, next question. For me, it's been very interesting. Please, niño. Which process do you think is the more critic in making meat? I mean, the part where you, of course, sanitizing everything, but the part you bottle the meat, the part you are cooking the meat, the part you are, which one is the more critic, do you think?
To me, it's all about the fermentation. You know, without fermentation, all you have is sugar water. So, you know, rehydrating your yeast properly and feeding your meat properly with nutrients, you know, to me, that's the most critical part of meat making, because other than that, you know, if the yeast don't transform that sugar water must, you don't have meat. So, you know, all parts are critical, but it's all about the fermentation for me. That's okay.
Ok, Carvin ha dicho que vamos, que para él le he preguntado que cuál cree que es el proceso más crítico a la hora de hacer hidromiel. Si es el embotellado, si es el cocinado, y él me ha dicho que para él se trata de la fermentación. De hidratar bien la levadura, de tener cuidado con la temperatura, etcétera, etcétera. Espera, give me a minute. Eric, por favor. No puedo contigo. Venga, vamos. Venga, por favor. Que llevamos un rato. Venga. I think he's crying, but I don't know. Can you hear him?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. I hope he gets sleep.
Yeah.
So, eso, la fermentación. Tener controlados los parámetros de la fermentación, nutrientes, rehidratar la levadura, etcétera, etcétera. Así que ya sabéis, nada de echarle pasas, ni de yo cocino sin nutrientes, ni de no importa si rehidratas o no, ni de no seguir las condiciones del fabricante. Okay, one kind of technical question that I have found some controversy. Do you think darker honeys are harder to ferment?
I do not. I have probably 400 different honeys from all around the world. And,
wow.
If you do what if you know what you're doing, no. No honey is hard to ferment if you know what you're doing.
Okay.
So I say no. I think that's more of a myth.
Okay, thank you. Le acabo de preguntar si el tema este de que las mieles más oscuras son más difíciles de fermentar y me ha dicho que, bueno, que si sigues el método y nutrición y tal, pues que no tiene por qué. Que él tiene más de 400 mieles de todo el mundo y que no ha tenido dificultades, que fermentar con miel es fácil, que siempre fermentábamos. You told me before that you have been brewing beer, cider, wine, and mead, of course. Which one of these different drinks is more related for you to mead, and which one has made you learn the most?
I would say wine is closer to me, and wine and mead have made me learn the most about fermentation dynamics, because with beer, you have enough nutrients to get a good fermentation. There's a lot more forgiveness. There is not a lot of forgiveness in mead and wine. So
yeah. Although a lot of people say that making mead is easier than making beer, because the procedure, the process is like just mix honey and water and you have it. And the beer you have to make I don't know how to say in English, the part where you extract the sugar from the mast and then to boil and then le he preguntado a Carvin que cuál de las bebidas que entre sidra, cerveza, vino, etcétera, está más relacionada para él en ese sentido con el hidromiel y de cuál ha aprendido más. Y él me ha comentado que la que más se le asemeja sería el vino, y que del vino y del hidromiel es de las que más ha aprendido sobre fermentación. Porque al final dice que bueno, pues que por ejemplo el mosto de cerveza pues tiene, digamos, todos los nutrientes que necesitas, o casi todos, bueno, para empezar la fermentación, pero que no es así con el mosto de algunas frutas, imagino que de miel. Entonces que eso te obliga, ¿no?, a estudiar y a perfeccionar el método. Next question. Do you have or do you think some kind of styles of meats are more difficult than others? Which one would you say that is the hardest style of meat to make it like perfect, like without of flavors and so on?
For me, I always feel the hardest style of meat to make is traditional.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, it's like a lager beer.
Yeah, there's just nowhere to hide. You're just up there solo. It's a true test of the meat maker's skills. Definitely a tradition.
Is it harder to make it sweet or to make it dry? Like to be able to make the yeast to eat all the sugars, or to be able, once you have the yeast tolerance, to make it stop and let your meat sweet?
Yeah, not for me, because I never ferment to the yeast tolerance. So I target an ABV, which for me is around 10 or 11%, and I always ferment dry, stabilized, and back sweeting. Okay. And here's the reason why. I have control. I can repeat that process. Once again, we're talking about process. I can repeat that process over and over and over again. I don't get into this school of thought of yeast tolerance and all that kind of stuff, because I can control the sweetness, how I want to back sweeten it, what kind. There's sometimes I might make a traditional mead and I might back sweeten it with 4 or 5 different honeys.
Yeah, of course, and it adds a lot of variability and new flavors, new combinations. One question I have regarding to this topic, after reading some BJCP manuals about defects, what would you say is the smell of unfermented honey? You know, sometimes they say, yeah, I mean, I kind of imagine that if you make the must and then you let it ferment, even residual sugar have been in contact with yeast in some way, and that's a thing that I thought when you back sweeten, the new honey you are adding is not going to be fermented anymore. So, how would you describe that unfermented honey aroma that is supposed to be a defect?
Okay, so this is a very controversial question, but I'm going to say it. There's no way to smell sweet. Can't smell sweet. There's no. You might associate it with something in your mind, but there's no way to smell sweet. You can taste it. So if someone back sweetens a mead to like 1060, 1070, yeah, you're going to taste some residual sugar. I mean, some residual honey in there. But when I back sweeten a mead to 1010, 1020, I've proven it over winning hundreds of medals that you can't tell that what I'm doing, So once again, it's all about control. It's about painting that perfect picture. So yeah, if you overdo it and make it cloyingly sweet, people are going to taste that. But don't back sweeten it so much to where it's cloyingly sweet. And you got calculators and formulas that you can use to say, okay, I want to target this amount of sweetness. How much honey do I add? That's all science. Now you can compute that down to, the gram of how much honey you would have to add in there. So, yeah.
Le he preguntado a Carvin que cuál, en su opinión, es el estilo más difícil de hacer de hidromiel. Y él me ha dicho que para él el tradicional, porque no tienes dónde esconderte. O sea, como una cerveza lager de estas que no llevan lúpulos, o sea, no mucho lúpulo, etcétera, etcétera, no tienes dónde esconderte. Es solo el aroma de la miel. Entonces, cualquier pequeño defecto salta enseguida. Y luego le he preguntado si él creía que era más difícil hacer hidromieles secas o hidromieles dulces, teniendo en cuenta para las secas que la levadura se comiera todo el azúcar, que a veces es complicado, sobre todo para graduaciones altas, y para hidromieles dulces, bueno, pues conseguir parar la fermentación Él lo que me ha dicho es que el método que utiliza siempre es el reendulzado y que entonces que él no tiene ese problema. O sea, él normalmente hace hidromieles en torno a 10-11 grados, deja que la levadura se coma todo el azúcar, vamos, que se queden secas, entonces estabiliza y luego reendulza. Y a raíz de eso le he preguntado acerca del tema de lo que comentan los jueces BJCP como defecto, que es el olor a miel no fermentada. Entonces, lo que me ha dicho Carvin, que eso de, vamos, que miel no fermentada, que el dulce no se puede oler, ¿sabes? En plan, es una cosa que puedes notar con la lengua, pero que no es un olor, que será otra cosa. Entonces, pues que él ha siempre utilizado el mismo método de reendulzado y que, bueno, con ese gana muchas medallas y que no hay jueces que hayan sido capaces de diferenciar este tío ha reendulzado, este está utilizando este método o este ha llegado al límite de tolerancia del alcohol de la levadura o tal cual, ¿vale? Talking about that, some people when I post that we were going to interview you, wrote to me and said to me, ask Carvin about the smell of sweet meats or something like that. And now I starting to understand what they mean, because I was not sure why they wanted me to ask you that. But yeah, please.
Yeah, so, honey does have aromatics, floral, piney, citrus, whatever. So honey has an aromatics, but I've asked this to a room full of scientists. Describe the smell of sweet to me. People associate sweet with different things like cotton candy, chocolate or whatever. But you can't smell sweet. You can smell flowers. You can smell mushrooms. You can smell the dirt and the rain after a good thunderstorm. But you can't smell sweet. It's a myth, and I'll stand by that until the day I die.
Okay. Okay, do you have a favorite recipe? Like your favorite meat maybe, or everyone is special to you?
They all are special to me, but like I said, my 1 gallon traditional meat recipe that I posted on the Modern Meat Makers that I know that a lot of people have won awards with. That one's special to me because it's helped a lot of people win a lot of awards.
Okay. Le pregunto si tiene una receta favorita de hidromiel y me ha dicho que bueno, que todas son especiales para él, pero que a lo mejor la más especial sería de su hidromiel tradicional con la que ha ganado tantos premios y que tanta gente lo ha replicado y ha continuado ganando premios. Next question. What do you think is the trendy thing in the USA right now, talking about meats?
Oh, by far carbonated, low ABV, session meats. So basically, easy to drink, right around 5%, 6%.
They would love what we're doing in Spain, because I don't know if you are familiarized with meaderies in Spain, or you had the opportunity to know some meat makers from Spain in the Meat Madness Cup, competition during the weekend.
I judged it. That cup.
Yeah.
And
I
was in Poland, and I judged that. And there was a lot of awards won by Spanish meaderies during that cup. I was actually very impressed. I judged some of those meads, they were beautifully done. So that's the most popular trend over here. And I would say second is your big berry bomb.
Yeah, I thought
melomels.
I thought in the USA were because of the AMMA document that they brought like 5 years ago or so on, or I can't remember the date, that most meaderies were centered into fruit melomels with a lot of juice. So this trend has been changing a bit to low alcoholic carbonated meats.
Yeah, and they're still making those fruit meads just at a lower ABV and carbonating it, putting it on tap and putting it in a can. So think just downsizing that big fruit melomel and making it more palatable and more sessionable.
Le he preguntado que digamos cuáles las últimas modas en Estados Unidos de hidromiel. Yo tenía entendido por un informe que hizo la Asociación Americana de Hidromiel hace unos años, donde indicaba que la mayoría de las hidromieleras trabajaban con melomels, no de muy alto alcohol, pero bueno, con mucho zumo de frutas, etcétera. Y Carvin me ha dicho que lo que está de moda ahora son hidromieles carbonatadas con bajo alcohol y con fruta. Entonces yo le he dicho que aquí en España que el 50% de los hidromieles que se venden tienen 4 o 5 grados, una cosa así. Yeah, half percent. We published last year a document about Spanish meaderies and so on, and one of the main styles were low alcoholic meats and carbonated. So it's not like a trend. Because trying to break with traditional meats or so on, other than here in Spain, beer, for example, is like more like a soft drink. I mean, people consume it and drink it to socially, to make social relationships, and they are not usually these last 10, 15 years with craft breweries is changing the I don't know how to say the picture, but
Yes.
but as always, beer, the tradition of beer in Spain is 4 to 5 degrees, lager, no hops, no nothing, and drinking as cold as you can. So some mead, because of the weather in Spain, some meaderies starting trying to make the same with me. Yeah. So
Same in the U.S. Same. Yeah, that's the most popular trend right now.
So next question, I'm going to look if there is something new. How many kinds of honeys, types of honey do you produce right now? Because you are a beekeeper also.
Mm-hmm.
How many different honeys do you harvest?
Well, most of my honey, so I'm just going to say two because it's either mesquite or desert wildflower. So where I am, honey is very regional. Honey has a terroir. So in my collection, I probably got 400 different varieties of honey from all around the world. But as a beekeeper, I produce two, mesquite and then a desert wildflower.
And do you think a very important part of your knowledge about meat maker comes from being a beekeeper? Or who comes first? Did you start beekeeping or making meat and later change to or add this new ability to your?
I was a meat maker first, and
Okay.
then I became an apiarist, a beekeeper. I would, once again, I think judging is, I'd put judging ahead of beekeeping. So.
Ok. Le he preguntado que cuántos tipos de miel tiene, o sea, él en su poder, digamos que tiene, me ha dicho que más de 400, pero que él produce dos, de mezquite, que creo que en español se dice así, y de flor me ha dicho Wildflower Desert, o sea, como de multifloral del desierto, flor de, no sé, flor salvaje, o sea, no es flor salvaje del desierto, claro, que es... podría buscar la traducción, pero bueno, si ponéis Wildflower, Desert Wildflower, lo encontraréis. Y bueno, me ha dicho que para él más importante es a lo mejor para un hidromielero saber juzgar tu propio hidromiel que hacer o recolectar tu propia miel, aunque aún así imagino que es importante. Do you have not from your own recipes, but do you have a favorite? What kind of style is your favorite to drink? Or it depends on the time or the weather or how you feel.
My favorite style, and only because it's so versatile, I like to take a good local wildflower, make a 5% carbonated mead, and what I'll do with it is I'll use it to like make kind of like slushies or I'll put a whole bunch of fruit in there and serve it to guests. And so I would say that, and my second favorite to have on top is a cucumber lime.
Cucumber, really?
Cucumber lime, yeah. So that's another recipe that's on a Modern Meat Makers group that's won folks a lot of awards. But my cucumber lime recipe is very popular in the United States right now.
Can you write it in the chat? Because I have understand cucumber, but I don't know if there were something more. And lime. Okay. I have tasted.
It's very tasty.
Cucumber meat. I find it pleasant. But in the competition, it was presented in the Copa Reina here in Spain, and did not very well. I think because of the it could be hard to balance. Although
It can be.
Although the taste was very good and different. And what would you say is more important in a meat? No defects, no flavors, etc., to be balanced, or the product in general, the feeling it gives to you, the tasteful.
It depends on your goal. If you're just if you're a competition meat maker, we're going to take this on a couple of different levels. If you're a competition meat maker, you're going to have the flavor, no defects, and it's going to have to be balanced. You're just a home meat maker, and there's a lot of home meat makers who are never going to enter a competition. They're happy with a defect here and there, and it tastes pleasant. Most people won't even pick up on the defects. Only most judges would. And then I tell commercial meat makers, whatever people are buying for you to pay your bills, who cares if it wins a medal?
Yeah.
If the people like it and you're selling out of it, who cares if it's not technically sound? Keep making that and keep selling it.
Le he preguntado antes porque antes nos ha dicho que su receta favorita, de las que él hacía la tradicional, pero le he preguntado qué es lo que más le gustaba beber. Y él me ha comentado, bueno, pues que hidromieles carbonatadas, con no demasiado alcohol, y en concreto una receta que él hace con lima y pepino. Muy refrescante, y bueno, pues imagino que muy buena para días con calor y para beber. High drinkability cucumber and lime. Right? Okay.
Very high. When I make it, I make 5 gallons, and at my house, we can go through 5 gallons in probably about 2 weeks.
Okay, wow. Yeah, it's 5 gallons each 2 weeks. Okay, yeah, now I have to search how much is 5 gallons.
Yeah, that's a lot of meat.
Okay, yeah, 5 gallons. Okay, it's like more than a liter per day. Más de 1 litro al día se puede beber de hidromiel. Y luego ahora también le he preguntado que para él, ¿qué es más importante? Que un hidromiel esté balanceada, que no tenga defectos, que se ajuste a un estilo. Y claro, él me ha dicho que depende mucho de si te vas a presentar a un concurso o no. Si es para un campeonato, pues que esté bien balanceada y que no tenga defectos es muy importante. Pero que para él, hidromieleras que venden mucho hidromiel, con hidromieles que tengan algún defectillo y tal, pues mira, si se vende y a la gente le gusta, pues está bien hecha y está bien. Y es un buen producto, vamos. I think I would have more questions, but I'm going to ask, as around 50 minutes has passed since the beginning of the interview, I'm going to ask to the viewers if they have some questions, and then if another question comes to my mind, I would make it to you. Okay?
Sure.
Gente, como ya han pasado unos 45 minutos de la entrevista, si tenéis alguna pregunta que hacerle o la queréis escribir, yo la traduzco al inglés y se la hago. O si queréis, si dominéis inglés, pues quitaos el micrófono y podéis preguntarle también. Como os he dicho, pues es juez de la Midlands Cup, de la Macer Cup, ha ganado infinidad de medallas, apicultor, hidromielero, hace sidra, hace cerveza. Entonces, si tenéis alguna otra pregunta, pues yo muy felizmente se la haré. The silence. I think I could be asking you questions. Una receta. Las tienes subidas a... Where were your recipes uploaded? Because you have mentioned it a couple of times.
So I just put it in chat.
Okay.
Facebook.
I'm going to search for
just go to just go to the file section, and a lot of them are over there. I'll try to grab you a link here.
I think I am in the group.
Okay. I'll grab you a link to here. Because you can get it from outside the group, too. It's on Google Drive. So just give me a second.
Ok. Que nos va a dar recetas que tienen Google Drive en el grupo Modern Meal Makers. Yo lo estoy intentando cargar, pero no está yendo muy bien la conexión. Entonces, pues, estoy intentando cerrar ventanas a ver si se carga la página y os lo puedo pasar. Si no, Carvin va a poner ahora un link. Ok. Thank you very much. Is it meat your favorite alcoholic drink?
I'm gonna say, at the end of the day, I love my wine.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I love wine. So it's a toss up between meat and wine. And speaking of meat, I just posted the second post is my 1 gallon. I think it's my 1 gallon.
Okay.
It's a link to the 1 gallon recipe.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is to upload it to the Spanish Facebook group.
Okay.
So everybody could take them and look at them, etc.
Okay, awesome.
How many have you been before, for example, in France or Spain, tasting wines? Or the tradition. USA, I don't know if it's a long tradition in making wines, for example, or meat or beer, as the country is, 300, not the country, but, the civilization or whatever you want to call it, is like 300 or 400 years.
Yeah.
Which drink was typical from the USA that you could say there is a tradition here that people maybe doesn't know, or?
I'm answering a question here real quick in chat, but I base a lot of my meat making off my wine background. Okay, so I would like to say one thing that I think that I've brought to forefront in meat is bringing in a lot of wine techniques. Like, for example, like I'm a huge fan of blending. So if you've ever had one of my meats, I will split the batch and ferment with different yeast, because different meat yeast target different parts of the palate. Then I'll blend those back together to get. Yeah, so that's a winemaking technique. I'm a huge fan of blending. So, the science of fermentation is always updating, but what we do, so far is of fermenting in mead. I take a lot of that from my wine background.
Le he preguntado que si había en Estados Unidos, digamos, una bebida que tuviera mucha tradición, teniendo en cuenta que pues en España se conoce el vino, en Francia también, la cerveza es más a lo mejor de Centro Europa, el hidromiel en Polonia, y él me ha dicho que él considera que en Estados Unidos el vino, que él ha aprendido mucho de hacer vino para adaptarlo al hidromiel, y que una de las prácticas que se utilizan en vino, que son las mezclas, los blendings, que lo que hace es un mismo mosto, lo cultiva, digamos, con diferentes levaduras, y luego, pues, según ve los gustos que tienen, etcétera, pues los mezcla para que cada levadura aporte su propio sabor, su propio aroma, la sensación en boca, etcétera. Entonces, que para él sería el vino. Francisco Gallardo ask, what do you think about... Francisco, cuando quieres decir what do you think about they metheglins, ¿quieres decir sus hidromieles, o sea, sus metheglins, o acerca de los metheglins en general?
I love a good metheglin. I was actually responding in chat. One of my favorite metheglins that I like to make is orange peel and vanilla. And my second favorite is a black cardamom. But metheglins are starting to become more and more popular by the commercial meat makers because, No, they're a little bit cheaper to make, so you got a cheaper cost.
Cheaper than fruit.
So metheglins are becoming very popular. And, another thing, while we're on the thing of metheglins, one of the things that I like to use, because you would still classify it as a metheglin, I love to use teas, all kind of different spice teas, Russian caravan tea, peach tea. I'll use a lot of tea and meads, and I'll basically make the tea and then mix the honey in with the tea. And I get good results from that.
Ok. Le han preguntado qué piensa acerca, creo que la pregunta de Francisco es qué piensas acerca del estilo metheglin. Y dice que le encantan es un buen metheglin y que sus recetas favoritas pues es de piel de naranja y vainilla y que otra pues el cardamomo negro. Aquí, yo sé lo que es el cardamomo, no sé si el cardamomo negro creo que Chris me ha puesto
Chris is joking.
Yeah, I know.
He from my presentation in Poland.
Yeah, Chris,
we already went over the sweetness thing.
Yeah, I finally asked him. Yeah, I have been 3 years wanting to go to Poland to the conference, but it has not been possible. One thing I wanted to say to you, because you are the let's just say responsible from the home Maser Cup home we don't know home Maser Cup entries. In the experience of 4 or 5 well-known meaderies and my own experience here in Spain, who has tried to participate in the Maser Cup, no one of our entries finally get it. Maybe the customs or maybe the because it's a long travel, the bottles end lost or broken. Do you think in a future there would be a way to make it easy to people from Europe to participate in Maser Cup?
We're definitely working on it. Now, every year, we hear stories about stuff not making it over, and it's one of the reasons why we moved the Maser Cup this year. It's going to be in Kansas City, which is going to give us better. It's going to give us better access for accepting stuff from international locations. So we're hoping that change, and working with a new distributor is going to provide us better service.
We have similar problems here in Spain, accepting meat from, for example, Latin America. Last year, around 10 people or 15 people were trying to send meats here, and most of them abandoned the idea. And the ones who finally tried to send them, some of them returned it to the people who sent the meats. Some of them were stopped in the customs. So I think that there is a lot of interesting things that could happen if it was easier for people from all the world to participate in different championships of United States, Poland, Spain, or whatever you want to say. Yeah. Le voy a traducir que, le he preguntado que si van a hacer facilidades, si van a facilitar el envío de las muestras a la Maser Cup, porque desde España ha sido siempre muy difícil el que lleguen los hidromieles. Carvin me ha dicho que este año la van a hacer en Kansas, y que entonces, que en Kansas, pues no sé por qué motivo, pero que es más fácil que recepcionen muestras de fuera de los Estados Unidos. Entonces, pues animaros a participar y pues que están intentando eso, mejorar el sistema de... me ha dicho que iban a contactar o que estaban contratando con otro... you said you were working with another delivery company or something like that?
Yes, okay. Distributor, yes.
Ok, que están trabajando con un nuevo distribuidor, pues eso, para evitar errores, ¿vale? I think if there are not more questions, we could end the interview here. I hope my English was not very hard to understand, and that I have done a good translation of what you wanted to express. Thank you very, very much, Carvin, for let us interview you. I have found very interesting your answers to my questions and your role in general in the meat making community. So I hope next time people would be more people would be attending to the interview, or if we make just a talk, maybe with even other meat makers, or like Chris or Mateus, or maybe people from Mexico or whatever. And just that I'm very grateful to finally would be able to talk to you. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure, and I just want to say, don't hesitate to reach out to me, send me an email, or message me on Facebook. So don't hesitate to, if you got a question, or a lot of people just don't like to talk, in these kind of settings. So don't hesitate to reach out to me, and thank you for putting this together, and hopefully it's the first of many.
Yeah. Ha dicho Carvin que no dudéis en escribirle, que él está abierto a responder, que hay gente que a lo mejor le cuesta un poco más hablar y tal, pero que él está abierto a responder dudas o lo que le queréis preguntar. Así que, bueno, pues desde aquí le agradecemos mucho su colaboración con la Asociación Española de Hidromiel, y esperamos que sea la primera de otras charlas donde haya más afluencia de público. This is being recorded, so we will upload it on YouTube and our Facebook channel, Facebook social network, YouTube channel, and we hope many people that couldn't come to see this today will be able to see it on YouTube. Again, thank you very much. Awesome. And that's it.
Awesome.
Goodbye, everybody. Adiós. Hasta luego.